Welcome to Group Dates and Hot Takes, a Bachelor Nation podcast. I'm Sampy.
I'm Christy, and we're recapping Clayton's season of The Bachelor.
Hello, universe, and all the fine people of the world. We are back for another week. I believe the entire world breathed a sigh of relief watching this episode.
Yes, lots of rejoicing all around.
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy this one better?
No.
No.
I still have some healing to do, okay?
Well, maybe you'll be healed next week.
I don't know. I hate to say it, but I feel like at some level, perhaps this season has just permanently been ruined for me.
Well, maybe the latter half will change things.
I wish I could share your optimism, Christy, but I'm really struggling with that. I mean, we are here in episode 6 now, and just finally, barely exited Shanae's season of The Bachelorette.
That's true.
That is inexcusable, in my opinion. But is there anything going on out there in the Bachelor world before we get to dance on Shanae's grave, as it were?
I don't think so. Nothing major has happened in the last week.
No more Clayton apologies?
No, I'm guessing he's probably saving that for the tell-all.
I don't know. I guess I was sort of expecting a little bit of a statement like, see, guys, I'm not totally an idiot. I did get rid of her eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it was an ordeal, though.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that ordeal, the 2-on-1, the residual, this nonsensical, let's just chop up our episodes where nothing makes sense anymore, and rose ceremonies are basically at the beginning, and everything's garbage.
Yes, we start in the middle of a 2-on-1. I guess they didn't even bother to show, like, them getting back off the boat. They're just back on land, sitting awkwardly.
Yep, on their bench.
So he talks to Genevieve first, and she, like, launches into this whole, like, I don't know, just rant is the wrong word, but, like, a whole spiel about hard to be vulnerable and all that. Just, I don't know, I found that weird considering, like, just the whole Shanae of it all. Like, what did that have to do with anything?
Christy, I don't know. I feel like perhaps that wasn't the best tack to take given the circumstances, since this really was one of them is going to go home. Pretty much for sure. So I guess I didn't really understand that play from her. I don't know if she thought that would be attractive to Clayton. Like, oh, look, I really am here to find love, and even though it's difficult, like, I'm really here for the right reasons. I don't know if it was something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they also make out, so I guess in some ways it was successful, but it still was strange.
I have a very hard time wrapping my mind around that sort of situation. It's like, oh man, everything's terrible, or oh man, I have all this family trauma. Boom, make out. Maybe I just need a little more time between emotions.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's just a placeholder because they have nothing else to say.
You could be correct. Now, I want you to talk to me about Shanae here. This was absolutely ridiculous.
You mean her convo with Clayton?
Yeah.
This was something else.
What, like,
She lies so easily. It's very unsettling.
yeah, I'm really going to recommend that nobody date Shanae. She has some major issues.
Yeah, we see her saying that it's hard to trust Genevieve, basically just throwing her under the bus completely, saying she's an actress.
Well, and really just saying, accusing her of every single bullet list item of everything that Shanae is and has done this entire time.
Yes, projecting a lot. And then she does this, like, creepy, like, sassy head shake. You can literally see her switch gears in the moment and then turn on the tears, crying to Clayton about never having been in love. And then, I guess, I don't know, we were left to wonder whether Clayton will fall for it. But then in her ITM, she is just, like, narrating herself.
Oh.
Which is so strange.
So insufferable.
Saying, like, come on, Shanae, cry. Like, who does this?
Shanae does. I think at one point she was like, #tears. Like, what is wrong with you?
She also said her plan went off without a hitch. I got teary and emotional. I don't understand, like, if you're making the choice to just be a full-on villain, how can you then act hurt when it doesn't work out?
That I just too, like, literally everything she was accusing Genevieve of. I mean, just everything, just she did all of that in that conversation with Clayton and then the ITM. Just the entire thing.
Yeah.
The like, I also, this is one of the things that maybe irritates me most about her, is she is just so incredibly cocky and entitled for zero reason. Like, I think we saw this as sort of like a preview last week, but then saw it this week again, where she's in the ITM and is like, getting this rose will feel better than sex. Because, of course, she's been a manipulative little butthole the entire time and is just, like, pretended to actually be invested and pretended to be upset by things and pretended to apologize and pretended this and pretended that. Oh, my word. Like, that's literally, to me at least, it seemed like that was literally her entire point, was like, let me just see how many people I can just puppet, essentially, so that I can get far and sort of pump up my own ego. Not a fan.
Yeah, I can't say I am either. And so at this point, like, Clayton is, like, at least maybe pretending to, like, choose between the two of them. But then he, like, goes back and sits down with both of them and asks Genevieve if she's an actress and if she's lying to him.
Oh,
like,
Lord, have mercy.
Who would say yes to that? Like, that is not a question that's going to actually get you any useful info.
I don't know what he was thinking.
I know, and then, like, she even asked him, like, where is this coming from? And then Clayton just starts hemming and hawing, like, I don't know what to say. Then he gets up and walks away, and then Genevieve rightly says Shanae is the actress, not her.
I would have thought he was a massive knucklehead if he hadn't sent her home.
I know. Thankfully, finally, he cuts Shanae.
Ugh. Thank the sweet Lord above.
Did you notice that death glare she gave him as
Yes.
Clayton and Genevieve walked away?
So freaking hilarious.
Very satisfying.
Now that that felt better than sex.
And then back at the house, you see all the women celebrating. I mean, you know you're a terrible person when the entire house cheers, girls tearing up that you're finally
when
gone.
it's sort of like a Munchkin Land, Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead sort of massive celebration.
Yes.
Yay! Hallelujah! We're free! We're free!
And in classic Shanae form, she curses him out as she is left there.
Yeah, how dare he? How dare he?
And then at this point, we don't even see anything else really of Clayton and Genevieve. But she got the roast.
But she survived to fight another day. Thankfully. She probably like almost died. Because it did kind of seem like Clayton was going to be a dum-dum again.
Yeah, but finally, either he wised up or the producers let him eliminate her.
Mm-hmm. They're like, fine, whatever. Somebody's going to die if you don't get rid of her. So just get rid of her. I also was just kind of cracking up how he came into the room with all the girls later and he's like, yeah, I could hear all of you singing. And they had just been having a massive celebration. I think one shot they were cracking open bottles of champagne on the patio and running around, and it was a massive celebration.
And actually, that celebration seemed to continue into the rose ceremony because Clayton's like, yeah, everybody's in a good mood. I heard you guys singing.
Yeah.
It's amazing what happens when you get rid of dead weight.
Mm-hmm. Or even toxic weight.
Mm-hmm. So at this cocktail party, we see more of him and Rachel, and I still think she is his top pick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just based on the way they interact and how much making out they do.
What do you think about his connection with Teddy?
Oh, on the one-on-one?
No. I'm just saying in general. I know obviously that she has the next one-on-one, but just I don't know. I'm just curious what your opinion is of that.
I think at the beginning of the season I would have thought their connection was better, but we've barely seen any of her, at least up until this one-on-one. So it seems like she has fallen a bit behind.
Okay. Yeah, I could buy that. It seemed like they did have a pretty strong connection initially, but maybe we're just not seeing it for most of these people because of all the Shanae nonsense. But yeah, I'll definitely be interested to see an actual entire full episode without Shanae and kind of see what happens as far as who is able to sort of come to the forefront.
Yeah. We also see Mara brought him poutine, but then she got interrupted by Eliza. I
Did it
think.
not like that?
No, and this is like the beginning of what probably will be Mara's downfall.
Oh no. Yeah, because this really is the beginning of it for sure. Yes, we will discuss more of this later.
Yep, so time for the actual rose ceremony, and so Marlena and Hunter went home. Which, not really a huge surprise for either one of those.
I mean, you did say something to that effect of, you just didn't really believe that Clayton liked Marlena very much.
Yeah, unfortunately. So next stop in their international world tour is Croatia.
Slightly more grand.
Yes, more international. And so Clayton announces the one-on-one with Teddy starts then, and more of Mara being disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be totally honest with you, Christy. I was slightly anticipating a Clayton announcement being like, "We're going international. We're going to Cancun." But no, they went for it. They really went for it.
Yeah, a location that is like, I don't know, not just your average international spot.
Nope. And I guess then after they get to Croatia is when the Teddy one-on-one happens.
Yes.
It didn't seem like they really gave much concrete passing of time there, but
nope. And her date was, honestly, there wasn't much to it. They just like walked around in the city in the rain. I mean, like a lot of times when they go to these international places, they always have a date like that, but they showed us so little of it. We didn't get to see much of Croatia there.
And then we, of course, had to have the inevitable virginity conversation.
Yes, there's one every season. And so she like explained, I guess, a little more of why she is, but basically her mom had a baby in high school and her mom didn't want her to make the same mistake, and so she felt pressured to wait. So she did make sure to mention that she's not waiting till marriage, just
right.
Until she's in love.
Look, yeah. Look, fantasy suites are still on the table. Don't you worry, Clayton. It's okay.
Yeah, and Clayton also seemed a bit like unsure of what to say here, but then he also said he never would have known she was a virgin, which is kind of a strange statement.
Right. I mean, it's not like it's stamped on people's foreheads or something. or like I'm not sure how driver's licenses are where you come from, but where I'm from, if you're young and have either like a learner's permit or you have your license but you're young, your driver's license is in portrait. And
yes,
then
I had that too.
When you're older, it goes to landscape. It's not like your like license. It like has a section for that or something. It's just that did kind of stick out to me a little bit. It's like how do you do you just walk around and be like, that person definitely a virgin. No, that person no. Like. I think perhaps this was just part of his, like, okay, what do you say to this?
Yeah, he also wanted to know, had she been in love? And she says no. And then there's lots more talk about being fully vulnerable.
Oh, yeah, you gotta be fully vulnerable.
Yeah, even after this date with Teddy, I I'm just not seeing much there.
You didn't think they had much going on?
Not really.
Okay, everyone. Christy isn't optimistic for their future. So I guess watch out.
At this point, we also see that, the group date card arrives and Sarah is left off, which means she gets a one-on-one before Mara. And that doesn't go over well.
Yeah, we do see this fairly regularly. This sort of this self-induced spiral, downward spiral in particular, as some series of events sets this thing into motion, and it's just like, oh my goodness, I have so much to offer. I deserve to be here. I'm not being recognized. I'm not getting time. Oh, and it just whines and whines and whines and whines and whines. And then, like, I don't know how it's going to end in her case, but, like, either there's some sort of, like, mental breakdown, or somebody gets punched, or someone leaves. Like, it just generally does not leave super, like, it doesn't end super well.
No, I think we see some of that later on in this episode, but yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Gotta get a little meltdown in there.
What did you think of this group date?
I mean, it was basically the Minnesota Vikings date.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, you're in Croatia. There's a lot of medieval history there, and a lot of, like, just sort of ancient feudal society that used to be in the area, and so they're, like, knights, I guess, are a fair bit of, like, would be fairly common in the Middle Ages there. but still, I think I never quite get the dates like this currently from the perspective of, like, well, you're, like, do you think they're, I mean, obviously it's not a bubble technically, but are they still, like, being super, super high strung about COVID stuff? Because I know we've talked about in like early COVID seasons about, like, well, you really don't want to get injured during this date because they cart you out. They cart you out of this place to get you to the hospital, and you're not getting back on the season. So, is that a similar risk still, or are they just sort of like, oh, we'll just test constantly and whatever?
I don't know what they're doing COVID-wise now. They seem to have just carry on as normal. I mean,
I guess
sure.
I just always wonder that with dates like these, because they were, had a little mini night reenactment, and then all the ladies put on armor and did some stuff. So I always that's always at the back of my mind, like, but what if you trip on that staircase and fall over and like super spray, like, break your wrist or something, like, whatever, like, and you're carted off. Will you ever be back? I mean, obviously this wasn't quite as high stakes as the actual football game that they did, but I don't know. It's still sort of something that's floating around my head.
To me, the food they had to eat was worse.
You would have left the season right then, wouldn't you?
Yes. They had a feast of pig's liver, cow's stomach, pig brain, and fish eyes. All of it looked terrible, and there was one in particular, the fish eye thing, where they were just, like, crunching through it.
Well, they were supposed to, like, squeeze the fish eye out, I think, and, like, eat the fish eye. Look, all of it, yes, absolutely, 100% looked really disgusting. If I had to, I would have done all of it. I mean, maybe would have thrown up, but I would have done all of it except for the pig brain. I'm not somebody who is a picky eater or really has a lot of things that I won't do from a culinary perspective, but that is absolutely number one on my list is I will never eat anything's brain because I like to live. And you never know what's floating around out there in terms of prions and all sorts of scary neurological diseases. So, yeah. How's that for a nightmare scenario?
Terrifying. I noticed Clayton also didn't eat anything.
I think that was probably in his contract. He was like, if you do any super disgusting food dates, I am just watching. Because I know if I was ever a lead there, that is absolutely what I would do.
So next, they all had to, tell Clayton their deepest feelings. So I think the only point for showing this was that Mara delivered, this poem that rhymed nicely, but she got passed over for the extra time for Serene, which is just continuing to fuel her annoyance with Clayton.
Oh yeah, particularly since, Serene actually gets carried away / made out with into the night. That really Mara was not happy about that.
No.
At all. It was also did you like Mara's poem?
Yeah, it seemed pretty good. I just don't know how somebody wrote that for her, right?
I mean, maybe. I mean, people can also write things.
I guess. I mean, it didn't seem like they had a lot of time to go write it, but maybe they cut it out.
Maybe she's just incredible. I mean, don't want to rule anything out there, Christy. I still don't. I just feel like I'm not really looking forward to where this season appears to be going in terms of all the promos we keep seeing.
What promo have we seen that's different?
No, just all of the the repeated, just that whole train wreck of him loving and sleeping with multiple people.
That's the only thing we have to look forward to, though.
I don't know if I'm looking forward to that, though. It just makes me feel bad.
It's gonna be a mess.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, and I guess, I mean, mine was, unless you really want to, I feel like Rachel didn't really say much of anything of substance here, after the fact as they're in the evening portion. I was just going to talk about how, Mara is just really irritated.
Yeah, she actually confronts him.
Oh, absolutely.
She's like, I've done everything you ask. I don't like getting the last rose. My goodness. And I haven't gotten a one-on-one. The roses given out don't reflect that I'm actually somebody you want.
Which is just hilarious to assume that.
Yeah, a lot of entitlement here.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that he probably does not really care much about. And realistically, I mean, isn't she she's probably the oldest contestant on this season, right?
Mhm.
And so I don't know if that maybe plays into some amount of insecurity, like, man, I'm just, yeah, like, I'm the oldest person and everybody else is like so much younger, and I don't know if she like felt some sort of disadvantage because of that. I know there were a lot of barbs traded back and forth between her and Sarah, basically with her being like, wow, Sarah is such a little baby, and Sarah being like, oh wow, Mara's super old, which that sort of rivalry, I guess, continues because Mara then specifically tells Clayton that that she doesn't think Sarah's ready.
Yeah, she does name her, which was a mistake.
Yeah, you gotta keep that stuff vague for plausible deniability.
And so, like, after, in spite of all of that, I just thought it was hilarious that Clayton gave the rose to Rachel. It's just...
He's like, I hear what you're saying, but I don't really care or appreciate it.
Yes, and she is seething on the inside.
I think I disagree with you there, Christy. I think she was also seething on the outside.
Well, yes, both. And then we have like this weird little interlude where he gets a knock on his door and there's a note saying meet him at the clock tower. And it turns out to be Susie. Like, this was very random to me, but...
Susie the pilot, right?
No, the pilot is Rachel.
Ah! One day I will learn who these people are.
But he seems thrilled about this little hangout.
Oh yeah.
And
you know, you love a little late night clock tower fun.
yeah, I mean, the end result of this is that she gets to tell him she's falling in love with him.
Which, of course, was the plan all along. With, of course, with some, you know, oh man, it's just so hard for me to see you out there, you know, interacting with and connecting with all these other women. Oh, it's just so hard for me because I'm falling in love with you. Cue kissing. Because that's what happens. Ugh. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, the last big chunk of the episode was Sarah's one-on-one, which for some reason we either didn't see it or they never had, like, the day portion. They just jumped straight to the night.
I guess it just wasn't interesting enough.
And so Clayton decides to bring up how Sarah might not be ready based on what Mara told him. And she's, like, shocked and is saying, I do see this going somewhere. Felt I could get engaged after their first date. And so this just sets off a ton of crying from her.
An actual tsunami.
Yes, the whole rest of the episode basically was her crying. So, of course, he has to get up and leave.
That seems like, honestly, perhaps you would disagree with this, but Clayton being like, oh, I need to take a minute and walking away is basically his thank you for sharing that with me. Like, it's his sort of signature. Like, whenever things get tough, he's like, ooh, I need to think about this. And, like, retreats for a second.
Yeah.
It's his signature move. That and the licking lips.
Yeah, he's still doing that.
He promised us, Christy, that he was done with that.
I guess not.
Ugh. Unbelievable.
So eventually they both go back to the dinner table and she like continues to defend herself, and so Clayton eventually says he doesn't question her sincerity, and so I guess he has chosen to believe her instead of Mara, I guess. And she gets the rose you make out.
What a roller coaster of emotion. What a just triumphant storyline.
Yes, Sarah is, I don't know, just kind of throwing all these daggers at Mara now. Like, you tried, and you couldn't take me out.
It's just so funny to me how they get, like, people get fixated on other people, and they're like, oh my goodness, oh, I can't stand them. Yeah, it's a real rivalry. Do you think that this? I would say this is probably the main rivalry right now, isn't it? I don't think anybody else really has beef.
It's the only one.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Mara is going home tomorrow. And by tomorrow, I mean whenever the next episode is.
So, yeah, that was it for the episode.
Oh, wow. Amazing. A short one today. A balm for our aching, tattered hearts here. Hopefully we get a chance to recover and actually learn something about these people.
Yeah, Shanae took a lot out of us.
Mm-hmm. I may never recover. I may have to, retreat to a cabin deep in the woods of Maine for a couple years to heal my soul. Do you have any other random thoughts about this episode, this season as a whole, Christy?
I don't know. I'm looking forward to the ending with all the mess now that Shanae's gone.
I don't know.
That's
I'm on
about
board with
it.
that.
Otherwise, there is nothing to look forward to with Clayton.
Ooh. That is. I mean, you came at them hard, Christy. You really did. I guess we'll see what the season has to offer us. We did have 21 kisses this episode.
Oh, he was busy.
Oh yeah, he gets around. He's a busy man. So I don't know. I just overall, I think this season's count is gonna be pretty low, and I would say this is very irritating to me as a statistician and a records purist, but I would say there's probably a fair amount, even more than usual, perhaps even a giant amount, of kisses that we will never know about because Shanae took up all of the time.
Well, that is true. But
If I had to guess that is the case, that is what happened here. But we will never know. Christy, how can people contact us?
you can email us at groupdatespod@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at groupdatespodcast.
I hope everyone is breathing this collective sigh of relief with us. All around the world, there was great rejoicing because Shanae. I will never not cringe if I think about that episode. Shanae, whatever name she goes by now, she is gone forever. Until, obviously, the women tell all, but I try not to think about that. This has been Group Dates and Hot Takes, a Bachelor Nation podcast. I'm Sampy.
And I'm Christy. We'll talk to you next week.